Discover the treasure that's in your own backyard at Crystal Springs Resort. It's the perfect way to escape your daily routine with luxury spas, award-winning golf, fabulous dining, mineral sports club, and so much more. Even treat yourself to an overnight stay for that special occasion. Great recreation and world-class amenities. It's all right here in beautiful Sussex County at Crystal Springs Resort.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
Welcome to Vernon Vibes. As always, it's good to share this time with you, and I always look forward to it because it gives me an opportunity to speak to you, the people of Vernon, directly, and to address issues and keep you informed of things that are happening around the municipality. And so this evening we have a couple of issues that we want to talk about, but before we do, as has become the habit here, I'd like to share with you some of the upcoming events. First, I would like to tell you that on December the 5th, Wednesday, December the 5th, at 7 p.m. at the Vernon Firehouse in the Vernon Town Center, we will have our Christmas tree lighting celebration, and it will be a very festive evening, and I want to extend an invitation to each and every one of you to come out and to enjoy the beginning of our holiday season. We will be entertained by choral groups from our school system. We also will have our firework display as we did last year, and hopefully the weather will be a little bit better than it was last year, but certainly that didn't dampen anyone's spirits. And I am told that we'll have a special visitor, so I want to extend an invitation. That's Wednesday, December 5th, in the Vernon Town Center at the Vernon Firehouse. Come on out for refreshments, song, and a festive evening, and hopefully a special guest will arrive to visit with the youngsters. In addition, we are coming to the time of year when we begin to look at where we've been and where we're going. And we are very much in the budget process here in Town Hall. As a matter of fact, as I've mentioned in some previous meetings or with the show, it looks pretty certain that we once again in 2013 are going to be able to deliver a budget that will allow us to reduce your property taxes for local purposes. Once again, second year in a row. And we'll be able to do that not only without reducing services, but frankly, increasing services. In particular, we are presently interviewing additional potential police officers. We have been understaffed in our police department for well over a decade, and by moving resources, I'm talking about financial resources, around within the budget, we are definitely going to be able to add a new patrol officer and possibly two. We're looking very carefully at that, and I'll be able to share more with you in a future Vernon Vibes. In addition, we have made some decisions concerning our physical plant. One, our DPW building needs attention, but more importantly, our secondary roads, our storm sewers, and our catch basins need to be attended to. And therefore, this year's major capital appropriations will be addressing those issues. Again, we'll be talking some more about that in the future. So a little taste of what's on the menu for this evening, and we'll talk some more as soon as we come back.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
Welcome back. I'd like to share with you and report to you some activity that I and Councilman Rizzuto have been involved in at the invitation of our neighbors from West Milford. Actually, early in November, we received a letter from the mayor of West Milford, Bettina Bieri, inviting us to take part in a meeting of West Milford, Vernon, Hardiston, Jefferson, Kinnelon, and Rockaway Township in regard to the impact of the Newark watershed property on our communities and, more importantly, on our tax revenue stream. put it in its proper perspective, in 1986, when I was the mayor in this community, Vernon Township was receiving almost $850,000 a year in property tax from the city of Newark. We, in fact, have well in excess of 7,000 acres owned by the city of Newark. And many things have happened since 1986 that have negatively impacted Vernon Township, as well as the other communities that I mentioned. Shortly after 1990, and the exact date eludes me, there was a building moratorium put on the Newark watershed property by the state of New Jersey. And I think everyone supported that, myself included, because we understood that the drinking water for our largest city, being Newark, was predicated upon the lands around the reservoirs being free from pollution. But then a little later on, in the Governor McGreevey and Governor Corzine administration, the state of New Jersey then turned around and paid the city of Newark $27 million to buy the development rights from the Newark watershed property. Except there weren't any development rights. We think, the communities I mentioned and this mayor, that there has been some very unfair impact on us. We are the stewards of the water that is necessary by dint of the Highlands Act and by dint of the things that I just mentioned. And just as a sidebar, we know that the city of Newark generates over $7 million in revenue from selling water to their people. Water that they essentially get free. Now, let me come back and share something with you. We no longer get any property tax from Newark, but rather a reserve from the state government, and that amounts to $243,000 for Vernon Township. That's 1/4 of what we were receiving in the mid-'80s. We think that this is extremely unfair, and the communities that I mentioned have had an organizational meeting, and we will be looking for ways to address this issue to the benefit of our people. So stay tuned. It's a significant issue, and it's one that is going to take some hard work. It's going to take a coalition of communities speaking in unison to, in fact, let our governor and our legislators know that this unfair taking of land and value and the use of the asset, that being water, by the city of Newark to the detriment of the communities around us certainly needs to be fairly compensated. I believe it's going to be a big issue, so I would suggest to you that you follow it in the paper as it comes out. We're very much in the organizational stages, but it's a significant issue that needs to be addressed, and it impacts a large part of northwestern New Jersey. We're not the only communities that have this kind of a situation. Parsippany has the same thing with Jersey City, and I'm told there are others. These issues need to be resolved at a state level. We no longer can allow the state to simply, by edict or legislative edict, decide that land is going to have its real value taken and not be fairly compensated. So, having said that, I'm looking forward to this process, and I certainly will be keeping you apprised of it as we move forward through 2013. When we come back, we'll have another issue to talk about.
Discover the treasure that's in your own backyard at Crystal Springs Resort. It's the perfect way to escape your daily routine with luxury spas, award-winning golf, fabulous dining, mineral sports club, and so much more. Even treat yourself to an overnight stay for that special occasion. Great recreation and world-class amenities, it's all right here in beautiful Sussex County at Crystal Springs Resort.
Welcome back. As you know, I like to report to our people the activity that took place at the most recent town council meeting. And there were a few things that were housekeeping items. One in particular was the transfer of funds from areas of the budget that we were under-expended, where we had been frugal and saved money, to areas of the budget where we needed, in fact, to add some dollars and cents. And one of the areas that we had to add money to this year because of unanticipated expenditures at the time that we struck the budget was legal services operating expenses. And I want to address it because there's room here and there seems to be some misunderstanding. Our legal bills to lawyers have not gone up, nor have they been overexpended. However, there were two potential lawsuits that were pending when I took office in July of 2011. One of them, a very serious lawsuit in which Vernon Township was being sued for racial discrimination and harassment, and ultimately in 2012 was settled by our insurance companies and Vernon, and that settlement actually was an $835,000 settlement to the employee who had been maligned and unfairly harassed and then not handled properly by the management of this township, all of which happened before the advent of your present government, but one of the many problems that we faced as we came in the door. Vernon Township's part of that $835,000 settlement was $75,000. And so not knowing that it was going to happen in 2012, it was impossible to, in fact, appropriate funds. Thank goodness we were able to save money other places, so we were able to make those transfers, which the law allows us to do after November 1st. The second part of that $125,000 is a $50,000 purchase of a piece of land that was owned by the Main Street Associates and had been taken by Vernon Township again prior to the advent of this particular administration without following eminent domain and without following the laws necessary, in fact, to take possession of private property. The owners of the property, the Main Street Associates Corporation, and in fact negotiated back as beginning in 2003 with Vernon Township to provide certain pieces of property in the Main Street area and the town center in return for certain services, such as being allowed to participate in the stormwater runoff basin that the town was constructing. But through all of that, there was a piece that the then town employed engineer and town manager, who both are now long gone for reasons known to all of us, none of them savory, decided that they were going to construct a retaining wall and parking area on a piece of property that we did not own. The Main Street Associate principals objected, made the township aware that this was a problem, and from 2005 until 2012 went through a myriad of administrations and elected officials who were not able to settle this situation. To cut to the quick, Vernon Township is paying $50,000 for essentially a quarter of an acre of land, maybe a bit less, and that land will be owned by Vernon Township. Any potential lawsuits and or liabilities will in fact be gone, and we will be able to proceed forward. This administration used all of the proper appraisals, including a private appraisal firm, surveying, and it took a tremendous amount of effort and time to come to a resolution of a situation that could have ended up costing this township into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the Main Street Associates situation is about to come to a close. Vernon will own that land, and we will be able to move forward with other issues in the town center that were in fact being held up, specifically titled to the Main Street, which was part of this entire package that we're talking about. So it's been a busy several months. It's nice to be able, as we come to the end of the year, to report to you some of the successes that we have had. And as we move forward into 2013, I'm sure that we'll continue to work to resolve these kinds of problems. Some of them, by the way, include a situation with the dam in Lake Conway, which has been hanging around now for almost 4 years, and some other situations that need to be addressed and resolved. We will take them one step at a time, one of them being an Evergreen Trail in the Pleasant Valley Lake area of Vernon Township, and there are others. That's frankly what we do here. And unfortunately, if you pick up the local daily, what you will seem to think is that the only thing we do is argue and spit at each other, and that's not the case at all. You have a council that really does do its homework and a mayor who is working hard to resolve the myriad problems and issues that have been outstanding in this community, some of them as far back as the 70s. And so these two that I just mentioned to you are big ones that I'm happy to have resolved and put behind us and allow us to move forward to some of the other things that we'll be dealing with next year. In closing, I want to remind you that those numbers I just shared with you did not and will not drive your property taxes up. It took good planning, it took some frugality on the part of the people here, and as we move into 2013, I am confident that we will continue to meet the objectives that we have set vis-a-vis property taxes and their impact on you, Vernon residents. We'll be back in just a minute.
Vernon Vibes is brought to you in part by United Water, the official water company of Vernon Township. United Water, involved in the communities they serve.
Good to have you back. Another one of the issues that we have initiated, and on Monday evening, I presented to the council a draft suggested ordinance, which actually speaks to and deals with the rest of the Mountain Creek, Vernon Township sewer financing agreement, and that is an ordinance to establish the eligibility of commercial industrial structures for a 5-year tax exemption and abatement pursuant to the redevelopment zone legislation, which is known as NJSA 40A:21-1 at sequel. Okay, that's all fancy words. What does it mean? In essence, it's, I'm sure, one of those things that people can easily get confused with, so I'm going to try and go through it slowly. People hear tax abatements and they think, oh my God, you're giving away tax to these guys, they're already rich. And to be frank with you, while the amount of tax that might be paid by the Red Tail Lodge at Mountain Creek would initially seem to be lowered, the fact of the matter is its impact on Vernon Township and the local municipality is actually a positive, not a negative. A pilot program under the statute allows for the property, a payment to be made in lieu of the property tax, which 95% goes to the local municipality for use in improving the area adjacent to the redevelopment zone, such as traffic, safety, sewer, any number of issues that are attendant to the redevelopment zone. 5% goes to the school board, and the county collects nothing. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who are going to say, well, that doesn't sound fair. Well, it's designed, frankly, to allow for improvement in areas that really do need that kind of improvement. And prior to taking office, the previous administration here, in negotiating with Mountain Creek, made it quite clear that they would, in fact, entertain a pilot program, a 5-year pilot program that was designed this way. The first year, there would be no payment. The second year, 20% of the real estate assessed value tax would be paid, 40% in the third year, 60 in the fourth year, 80 in the fifth year, and at the end of 5 years, 100% back to the tax rate. This ordinance that I gave to the council for consideration obviously will be the subject of discussion. It'll be the subject of hearings, but I want you, the people of Vernon, to hear it directly from me. This is not a tax giveaway. In fact, it will go, the money that is collected will go to help offset the cost of the town sewers, which will allow the MUA to in fact pay back Vernon Township the tax dollars that have already been laid out vis-a-vis that sewer in a faster manner. And it also will guarantee that the Vernon MUA excuse me, will be able to spread the cost of owning and operating that sewer system as it really should be spread across all of the users and potential users. I'm very, very aware that there has been a tremendous amount of misunderstanding and misinformation. That happens when there are a lot of people involved, and it's very hard to get the information out to the residents in Vernon Township. And if you rely on our local newspapers, you're only going to get a part of the information. If you rely on this particular program all by itself, you're going to get the perspective of my involvement in it as the mayor. But I think the best way to address this is every single one of the people who ran for this new council and myself were very clear about the need for Vernon Township to develop its commercial ratables. Let me remind you that at present, 91% of the money collected in property taxes to run our schools, pay the county, and run our municipal governments are paid on the back of residents. 9% is paid by commercial and/or industrial interests. Any planner worth their salt would tell you that a well-planned community should be split 60-40, 60% residents, 40% commercial. Do I think that we'll ever reach that here in Vernon? No. But to be frank with you, if we could make it 20-80 or 25-75, the impact on your property taxes, on your homes and residencies would be dramatic. And so I will be keeping you apprised as we move forward. I know that there'll be lots of discussion and there'll be lots of opinion and lots of thoughts, and that's as it should be. But I want you to know that as we move into 2013, the issue of the redevelopment zones and the pilot programs that had their origins in the early 2000s will be brought to the fore, and this government will be making a decision on it. And if you have any input or care to follow it, please come to the meetings, hear what's said. If you have questions, you're perfectly welcome to call here or to use my email. I'll be more than happy to respond. And if I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you. But nonetheless, this is the beginning of a process that has been going on. This is the beginning of implementing it. And I certainly look forward to the conversation with you and all the interested parties. So hopefully you'll keep apprised, keep abreast, and see the value to all of us. It may take some time for it to unfold because, as anything else in government, sometimes the wheels of progress don't move with the same speed that we'd like to see it, but we are moving, and we're moving in the right direction, and for that I thank you for your support. We'll be back in just a moment with the last issue of the evening.
Discover the treasure that's in your own backyard at Crystal Springs Resort. It's the perfect way to escape your daily routine with luxury spas, award-winning golf, fabulous dining, mineral sports club, and so much more. Even treat yourself to an overnight stay for that special occasion. Great recreation and world-class amenities. It's all right here in beautiful Sussex County at Crystal Springs Resort.
Good to be back. I'd like to read to you a letter that I received on November the 13th. And I think when you hear what this letter has to say, you'll understand why I'm reading it to you. It says, "Dear Mayor Murata, Hurricane Sandy and the recent nor'easter caused widespread damage in New Jersey, resulting in 1.3 million power outages in our service area. This led to the largest service restoration effort in our company's history, and possibly the most comprehensive emergency response campaign this state has ever seen. I'd like to thank you, as well as your colleagues and other elected officials throughout New Jersey, for working closely with us as we brought power back to customers. You played a key role in helping us maintain open and honest communications with customers, especially regarding the enormity of the storm's damage and the specific challenges we faced in restoring service. Certainly there were some frustrations and difficult conversations, but I appreciate your candor and remain committed to using the lessons learned from this experience to continue to improve the reliability and responsiveness of our service. Please extend our appreciation to your constituents for their patience and understanding throughout this process. I assure you our employees are dedicated to providing the high level of reliability our customers expect and deserve. Sincerely, Donald Lynch, President, Jersey Central Power and Light. What crass. What absolute crass. I have a few things that I want to say to the President of Jersey Central Power and Light. I and the other mayors of this area are not your customer service representatives, and indicating that there was open communication is an absolute falsehood. The information that was forwarded to this mayor, and I have confirmed with other mayors in the area, was absolutely incorrect. Every day when I would talk to the contact from JCP&L, Jersey Central Power and Light, and ask, what area of Vernon are you working in? Here's what I was told. Oh, we'll be working on pole number 133 and line 617. And I'd say, where's that? Well, I don't really know. What do you mean you don't really know? Well, we know where the pole numbers are. Where are you talking to me from? Ohio. Oh, I see. Well, would you be kind enough to find out where those poles and lines are and get back to me so I can share with my residents when they can expect to get power back? Sure. And the gentleman would call me back. I have to give him fair credit for having the courage and the fortitude to face the kind of grilling that he got. But here was what was most upsetting. When he would come back with the names of streets, as it turned out, they were totally wrong. On the third day after the cessation of power, I was told via a list of streets that were scheduled to be back online, that Cliffwood Lakes would have its power at the end of day 3. It took Cliffwood Lakes 12 days to get their power back. I can assure you that this issue is not done, but I'm addressing it again this evening with you, the people of Vernon, to let you know there is not a time frame that puts an end to your ability to let your voice be heard. If you are interested and so inclined, please go to the Vernon Township website at www.vernontownship.com, click on the petition to have JCP&L give up its franchise to Sussex Rural Electric, download it, sign it, and send it in. At present, after 1 week, we've collected about 250 petitions, and I'm hoping that after people watch the town council meeting on Monday night, and those who watch this particular program, you will understand that it is an ongoing process, and the petition is designed to get the attention of the BPU as well as the governor and the legislature. We will be pursuing this issue, but we will only be doing it if the will of the people is such that we need to be doing it. So if you want to see JCP&L replaced, or at the very best, forced to improve their service and their ability to maintain their infrastructure, then I would suggest humbly but strongly that you in fact sign the petition and send it in. Because here's what my experience has taught me through Irene and through Sandy. This company is great at making promises and then after the fact making excuses. And unless we hold their feet to the fire, I'd be willing to venture a wager that we will have the same experience the next time that we have a serious storm in Vernon Township. So please, go online, or if your neighbor comes to your door with a petition, sign it, send it in, and we will make JCP&L know that we are not pleased with the way they handled the situation. Thank you, and good night.